All right, welcome back to Shadow Shorts. If we've never met before, my name is Jeff Echols. I am a senior advisor and the head of marketing for Shadow Partners. And every weekday, I bring to you a conversation, short form conversation, thus Shadow Shorts. And we talk with experts and thought leaders in the realm of innovation for the built environment. Of course, today is no different. So joining me today is Charles Rathmann. He's a senior editor at IRONPROS and the host of Construction Tech Talk. It's an interesting show where I'm going to have him explain more about it, but he's talking to people from all across the industry about everything construction, everything technology. And I wanted Charles to come on today because he has a lot of insight in the world of AI, which is always an interesting topic in our world. Everybody wants to know about AI, machine learning, et cetera. But he's got particular insight based on the knowledge he's gathering from people that are using AI in the construction industry. So, Chuck, welcome. Glad you're here. We were just talking fly fishing before we went live in Wisconsin. So, I'm glad you're here today. And let's talk a little bit more. First of all, what's Construction Tech Talk? Tell me about it and what you're learning in those conversations.
Yeah, well, Construction Tech Talk is a series of video interviews, and sometimes we're like weaving in, screen cap demos to explain to people what's going on out there in software. And really, Construction Tech Talk is just a name I came up with on the fly as we were starting to populate more video content. We
You got it.
have these things that tend to be pretty informationally intense in these videos, but we do kind of cut it up and have some fun. But we also have longer form, deep product analysis of construction software and automation robotics options because we've got a lot of contractors out there who might have been in construction for a very long time, but maybe they haven't been through a technology evaluation and selection process before. And we can help them understand how to do that and get them up to speed so they can have a better experience. We go deep into individual products and help folks understand, well, who are these products for, how much they cost, what are they going to do for us, what questions should I ask this vendor when
Mhm.
we're talking to them. So really, we're trying to do the due diligence on the construction software so other people don't have to.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that intrigued me about your particular role, right? It's, here's this thing, but here's what I'm getting out of it, right? And so, your exposure to the technologies, to the softwares, et cetera, really brought up the great question is what are you seeing in terms of AI specifically for construction? It's like I said in the intro, it's sort of everybody's darling. Everybody wants to know, what about AI? What about machine learning, those types of things. So I thought it would be a fun conversation. Just say, hey, what are you seeing? What's most popular? What's most useful? What are some of your favorites?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there are favorites. Everybody has them, but then there are things that are kind of on the tip of everybody's tongue. And
Sure.
just to kind of dispense with things, I mean, yeah, I am talking to software companies in construction, including some venture funded ones, some startups that
Mhm.
are adding like a chat GPT front end to
Okay.
search documents in their application. But what we're seeing here in construction and ancillary fields is not that type of AI. We're not trying to duplicate human communication.
Right.
What we're trying to do is the stuff that we just can't do if we
Mhm.
tried. So large language models. I mean, I'm sure they're cool if you want to write a haiku, right? And who doesn't want to be like Jean-Luc Picard and walk up to a computer and say, Earl Grey hot, or have a car you can talk to, like Knight Rider, right? But what is really coming to market, there are a few things that I'll kind of whip out there. One, this isn't a term I'm hearing used,
Mm.
but brute force computing. Okay.
Okay.
If you've read Gary Kasparov's book Deep Thinking, which is about
Mhm.
his battle with IBM's Big Blue computer for the World Chess Championship, in
Right. Right.
essence, um, you come to understand that something like a game of chess is maybe similar to construction. In chess, you've got, when it comes to the number of legal moves, they're like 10 to the 40th power. I mean,
Mm.
I'm not even smart enough to know how many that is. So, but as you're playing a game of chess, you likely will start out with an opening, which is like a series of moves that develops your pieces. And if you're the white side, you go first. The B side may have an opening that they like to use against your opening. And these are kind of arranged and planned out in advance. And then once you get to the point where, well, you're out of your opening book, you're out of the list of things you know you're going to do, then it's a matter of countering and taking advantage of what you see on the board. And really good players, which is not me, by the way, will be able to calculate a few moves in advance based on this position and what I know this person or player has done before. Here's what I'm going to do. And there's a certain number of options that even these folks can kind of get in their heads. Uh, the computer can do a lot better.
Right.
The computer will just crush you because they're running all 10 to the 40th power moves, and they might not even rely on an opening very much. They're really planning things as they go, thinking all the way to the head to the end game and
Mm-hmm.
how they're going to crush you and leave you in despair. Now, in construction, we're seeing this type of computing. We've seen it, in some related disciplines like field service management, where you've got scheduling optimization. You've got X number of technicians and trucks. You've got X number of jobs that are coming in. You've got certain inventory on the trucks. You've got technicians with certain skill sets. You've got service level agreements with customers that say when you're going to be there and how quick you can fix stuff. And as new information comes in, new orders, as the technician's location changes or the time it's taking them to complete things changes, there are algorithmic driven software products that will create a dynamic schedule and change it in real time. So each technician finishes something, they get sent to the next job in order to pay off a bunch of business rules that are built into the software. We're
Mm-hmm.
seeing that now in construction scheduling, where you have a lot more variables. Almost anything could be a constraint. It will create an optimal schedule. We're seeing this in design. I know Autodesk and other people are saying this is generative design, but really it's a rules engine and is using brute force computing to say, well, given the performance characteristics, the budget, these different materials we can use, the availability of daylight and how we want to rotate and position things, the amount of glass, here's going to be an optimal design. It's not really creative like a human. It's just coming up with the best way to do things in a way that's really going to help the humans meet their goals. Um, we're seeing machine learning and machine vision too, and we're seeing it everywhere. We've delved in just recently to AI in pre-construction, and if you get like that dumb set of plans, that PDF, well, this software can look at graphical things on a design, recognize them, and drive the takeoff. We're also seeing machine learning and things like that coming into construction equipment, where if you are having automated equipment, sure, it might use a stereo camera to figure out, well, is there a person walking in a direction and at a velocity that's going to intersect with our path? And if there is, sure, they might give that operator like a light or sound indicator, but they're also tying into the CAN bus and slowing or stopping the machine. They can do that as well with the turret of an excavator so it doesn't swing out and hit someone as they're walking by. So, really, we're seeing it come all the way from front to back. Um, everything from like pre-construction to, handle, when, go or no go decisions
Mm-hmm.
based on project histories, based on information on who's historically won projects, what they bid for, and then the resulting profit margin. We're seeing companies, and I'm not sure if it's pronounced Zebel or Zeeble, that will do the same thing for whole developments. Well, based on these different plots that you have access to and what the market rate for these units are and the cost for construction and your past project history. Yeah, here are the here's how you ought to structure this development: the number of units, the size, the price, everything. So humans aren't very smart, but we're smart enough, I think, now to realize, hey, man, we got to get our chess computers involved in this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And at the end of the day, they're tools, right? So how do what are my best tools? What are the best tools for the job, et cetera? I always think about it, and you're just basically describing the pro forma, right? Of I don't know what the project is. It's a multifamily project or whatever it is, but you think about those things that we do over and over and over that require large amounts of data, um, and well, I just described it. It's repetitive, but I like that idea because I haven't heard a lot about the pre-construction, um, the tools for the pre-construction. But I'm glad that though there are AIs or different algorithmic models that are being used there, because there's such has such a huge impact on everything that happens beyond that, all the decision making that happens beyond that, and to gather the data, use it to make decisions early that can affect those later decisions seems like a really important tool to have in the box.
Yeah, well, any type of technology uh, tends to come historically to pre-construction first. And part of that is, well, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah.
If you get off to a bad start, it's hard to recover from that. Something like Toggle can, really automate a lot of the takeoffs. So if you are doing that manually, well, let's say you miss some things.
Hmm.
And you have that sinking feeling in your gut when you provide your numbers and you win the project and you realize, man, we were like, half of what anybody else is
Yeah.
asking for here. What did we miss?
You left
And
all of
it's
MAP out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's just no fun. Or you missed a whole floor of windows. We heard of that happening once.
Yeah.
So it's something where we have as people, sure, we're going to miss some things. Computers can improve on that. With Toggle, they made sure that they could at least outperform people before they launched it. But we also tend to have, as a chess player will, that rule of thumb, that heuristics approach to make
Mm.
decisions, which is not data driven. Or if it is, it's like a single snapshot of data, or it might not be the best or ideal data. It's more like this, you know, and we're doing the best we can, but we're biological life forms. We You can't keep the number of variables active in our heads that's really required to make a decision about projects that might involve millions of variables. Like Hierarch has a product for large tract home builders where they might have standard designs, right? That they put up all over the country, but then you have to change them for local codes and ordinances, for covenants in that neighborhood. And then each homeowner will change things in terms of the position of the garage, the finishes, the materials, all this kind of stuff. So you have like thousands and thousands of different variables. So as that comes together, as you have a design that now has the customers changes and customizations and configurations and any localizations, how do you figure out what the final price is going to be? Well, right now what you do is you guess, and that's probably not a good way to do it. Whereas, when you have the AI running in the background, it's building out that bill of materials and
Mm.
schedule of values right there in the background as all those things are going on. So, this is just we're able to do things now that we could not before.
Yeah. Yeah. It's there's so much out there. Obviously, there's so many tools available, and again, this is one of the reasons I wanted to have this conversation is because you're exposed through through your work to many of these tools and the founders, et cetera. But what's because this is Shadow Shorts, we've got to wrap it up. We're here at the end of our time. So what's the big takeaway? What's the big aha moment, the thought provoking um, uh, uh, element of everything that's happening? And maybe it's you're looking out at the future, right? We're just past halfway of 2023. What's the thought provoking takeaway as you look forward for AI in the construction industry? What do we need to be thinking about?
Well, the first thing is, the AI is only going to be good as the data.
Yep.
So maybe even a few years ago, more contractors than today would be running their business in ad hocratic systems like Excel,
Hmm.
where, I know a few companies like Torque that are able to grab and parse and figure out that data and enter it into some type of bigger data store for analysis and decision making. But by and large, to have applications that are used consistently throughout the organization that capture equipment history, project history, all the different things that an AI can use to learn how to do things better. That's going to be super important. The ad hoc shadow IT stuff's got to go away for ChatGPT to work. But then these tools are coming within the transactional systems that folks are using. We've seen this come to market for a long time in other sectors. Sometimes it's kind of low rent AI, like the ERP folks might say, gee, we've got like automatic reorder points here in this inventory
Hmm.
function. Yeah, well, that's okay. But we're so much more sophisticated than that. But the main thing is to get into structured environments and formal enterprise applications.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, that's really good. We've got to have this frameworks. We've got to have the structure in order for all of this to work within. That's probably another whole other conversation that we'll have down the line. We'll have to have you back to talk more about that. Um, Chuck, I mentioned at the beginning that the show, the technology construction technology show, fits under Iron Pros, under the umbrella of Iron Pros. So, could you take just a minute to tell us, for anybody that's watching or listening that isn't familiar with Iron Pros, what is it? And I'm going to throw the URL up on the screen as you're describing it.
Yeah. So Iron Pros is a newer website. It's the sister site to For Construction Pros and the AC Business Media brand of business publications. And while our other titles in print and digital help people understand how to do their jobs better, our goal is to help people become better buyers. And we do this
Okay.
in equipment, in categories like workwear that are kind of burgeoning, but in technology, it's really complex, and we're just really being as rigorous as we can. And then, of course, yeah, goofing off and cutting up more on our videos.
I love it. So, ironpros.com is the URL. It's in the bottom left hand corner of the screen right now if you're looking at this in a video version. And go check it out. There are lots of reviews there, lots of information there, lots of ways for you to learn about the tools that you have access to, and help you vet the tools that you might want. So, Chuck, I really appreciate you joining us today for this conversation. It's fascinating. It's obviously a huge topic, especially just to spend 10 or 15 minutes on. But I've enjoyed it, and we'll have you back, and we'll dig deeper into some of the side conversations here.
Okay, I'll look forward to it, sir.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chuck. And for those of you who are watching or listening, either live or in some time shifted manner, we appreciate you being here. I'll be back tomorrow, noon Eastern, with another expert or thought leader in the realm of innovation for the built environment. And we'll talk more about what's going on in this space and what we need to plan for and even budget for as we look forward to the end of the year. And I have to mention before we go that if you like conversations like this, if you say, hey, I want to know more about AI, I'm actually planning right now a generative AI panel for Shadow Summit, which will take place in October, October 24th through 26th in Atlanta, Georgia, right on the campus of Georgia Tech University. Shadowsummit.com is where you can find out more. We're releasing keynote speakers right now, so you can find out who's going to be speaking there and find more information on the programming. But join us for Shadow Summit. It is a purposefully intimate affair. 200 tickets max. Small theater right in the Academy of Medicine building on Georgia Tech, like I said, on the Georgia Tech campus. So we can't bring more chairs in. We've got a limited number of seats. And these will be conversations where we get into the weeds about AI, about housing, about everything technology in construction, design, engineering, real estate development, owning, operating, all of those things, finance certainly as well. So shadowsummit.com, hit the button to apply to attend, and we'll get you there. And also, if your brand depends on being associated with the most innovative folks in the built environment, think about sponsoring Shadow Summit. We can't do it without you. I'm happy to have more conversations about that with you. Just reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's an easy way to connect. And if you want to connect with Chuck about IRONPROS and construction technology, reach out to him on LinkedIn as well. I know that he is active over there. We've connected over there. So reach out to either one of us about these two different topics that we're talking about, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.